Hey everyone, and welcome back to CyberSip. Joining us today is Professor Ziming Zhao, who is an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at the University at Buffalo. Professor Zhao also directs the Cyberspace Security and Forensics Lab, otherwise known as CACTA Lab, and his research interests are, why don't I ask you, Professor Zhao, what are your research foci?
Thank you, Kevin, for having me.
Oh,
I basically work on all kinds of cybersecurity problems. Sometimes go beyond cybersecurity, go to the physical security world as well. So my main focus right now, my lab, we mainly do systems and software security. We are particularly interested in all kinds of IoT and embedded systems. Because those systems, they were deeply embedded before 10 years ago. No one worried about their security, but now those devices are connected to the internet. They are facing all kinds of attacks. So, however, their hardware is different from our cloud or desktop computers. Their
right.
hardware do not provide all the security features on those systems. So how do we secure the software and OS on those systems? So that's one of our research focus.
Yes. Well, you're at the forefront of cyber hygiene, and I'm really excited to have you here today.
Thank
We're
you.
going to talk about ethical hacking in the time we have. And so I guess the first question I should ask you is, what is ethical hacking? And is there such a thing? Can there be such a thing as ethical hacking?
Sure, it is definitely a thing. To me, I think ethical hacking is hacking in an ethical way. What it means is the goal of ethical hacking is not to identify the vulnerabilities for profit, not to exploit for profit, or not even do that for fun, but to responsibly disclose the vulnerability to the vendor and help them fix the vulnerability before they are exploited by real world adversarials or cyber criminals.
So, why then would anyone want to be an ethical hacker?
Well, first one, I would say hacking itself is very fun and it's a legal way to be a hacker, right? Hacking is fun, it's challenging. So I teach software security at UB and I have a capture the flag platform, which I developed hundreds of challenges and the students I have been offering that course for many years, and the students love it because they told me it's like a brain teasers. Brain teasers
Right.
keep you young, right?
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
Yes, and I would say at the very early stage of software and system hacking, like back in the 80s, it was mainly for fun. It was not really for profit because at that time there were not many cyber criminals. There are just some people really good at the system and they figure out, oh, this can be exploited this way. I feel like uh, it's in our human nature that we want to break things, we want to find vulnerabilities, we want to break things in a new ways that no one did before, right? So it's not necessarily malicious to do that, right? It's
Mhm.
like we enjoy building Legos, we also enjoy breaking Legos at the same
Yes,
time, right?
yes, we
So
do. I remember that.
yeah, so it's not necessarily malicious, and ethical hacking is a way to enjoy that kind of fun, but also doing it a legal way.
Right. So, uh, Professor, who needs an ethical hacker and why? And there's something more than just curiosity and the fun of breaking things, which, by the
Yes.
way, I'm remembering I did love to do. I would build these large Lego
Yeah.
ships, and then I would smash them apart and have to
Exactly.
build them. And they never went back together the same way, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. If you go
Um,
to children's museum every day, the kids doing that all the time. Yeah.
right.
So who needs an ethical hacker? I would say whoever may be attacked by cyber criminals, they should have ethical hackers try to find the vulnerabilities before the criminals find that. Our society as a whole, we need ethical hacking because security is an arms race. There is no such thing as absolute secure.
Mhm.
I know many companies out there advertise how our product is unhackable. That's to me, that's a fraud.
To me, it's
Yeah,
an invitation to
yeah,
be hacked. Yeah.
yes, yes. So the art of war says that you need to know yourself, you need to know your enemy, so you can win the war, right? So if the defenders they don't know how attacks work, no way they can come up with effective defense. Actually, what I feel is that if the defenders do not really know how attacks work, they don't even have the motivation to come up with good defense.
Hmm.
So like for example, in my software security course, we do not only teach how to exploit vulnerabilities, we also teach the state-of-art solutions to defeat those attacks. However, we always teach attack first. If we just teach them defense, the students they do not understand why I'm learning this. What's the motivation? And
Hmm.
this is something very hands-on. You have to do it. You have to feel it. For example, every year I force my year one, year two PhD students to participate a particular CTF called embedded CTF. And in
Hmm.
that CTF, the students were develop and design a secure system for 2 months, then give that system to other, usually college teams, to hack each other.
Right.
And you can imagine that after the 2 months after development and design, everyone's confidence level is super high. They feel, oh, I
Sure.
designed such a secure system, right? Then 3 years ago, that version of that competition, our system was online for 2 hours, then got hacked by 2 universities. Then my students was like, oh my God, security is so brutal. And for me, I mean, as a professor, there's no better way to teach my student security is brutal like that, right?
Hmm.
It's an arms race. And so go back to that question: who needs an ethical hacker? I
Yeah.
believe the society needs that. Many companies need that. And but I want to bring up something else as well. It's like even if the companies or the organizations they will need ethical hackers, but they also need to know that ethical hacking or pen testing is a badness meter. It doesn't tell you how secure your system is. So this is not said by me. This is said by Garen McGraw. Yeah, so he was a pioneer in software security back in the 80s, 90s. He had several books in software security before most of us know how to do buffer overflow. So the badness meter means that if the pen testing finds many vulnerabilities in your system, it means your system is so insecure and you should fix that. However, even if the pen testing doesn't find any vulnerability, it doesn't mean your system is secure, right?
Sure.
It only means that pen testers or ethical hackers do not know how to hack your system.
Right.
Somewhere else out there may know that, right? So it doesn't mean it's unhackable, right? So I think that's equally important that when people, companies, organizations, they hire ethical hackers to find vulnerabilities, they should also have that mindset. Of course, it will raise the bar, make it harder to hack, but it doesn't really mean your system will be unhackable. Yeah.
Right. It's logic, right?
Yes.
If there's no penetration, it doesn't mean your system is safe. It just
Exactly.
means that the hacker was unable to penetrate your
Exactly.
system.
Yeah. It means we don't know what we don't know, right?
Right. Right. It's a known unknown.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing, Professor, is you've got to be able to hack in order to be able to defend.
Exactly.
And the better the hacker you are, the stronger the cyber defense you can build to a particular
Yes.
network or system.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I'm an organization and I need pen testing. I need some ethical hacking. Tell us how that works. I mean, I take it,
Mm.
I know some do this, but you
Yeah.
don't just hack into some network randomly and then pick up the phone and say, hey, we hacked
Yeah.
in, we'd like to help you. How do you set about to arrange with a client or a
Mm.
customer to engage in ethical hacking?
So I would say most companies right now, like bigger ones, they have their own ethical hacking team. They probably do not call it that way, right? Their security operations center, their SOC, may have some red teams there, not just analyzing incoming traffics, but also try to find vulnerabilities of their system itself. And also many companies, they have all kinds of bug bounty programs, rewarding programs to help some individuals, ethical hacker individually to get some kind of a reward by reporting the bugs. And also there are many hacking competitions. Big companies also organize that to hack their real world system. Also, there are hacker platforms right now. There are companies try to have like a third party platform just to collect ethical hackers with companies in need. I say there are all kinds of business model right now going on.
Right.
I'm not sure because I'm not in the business world. I don't know where this is
Right.
going. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you, Professor, you mentioned bug bounty programs. I want to
Yep.
get your take on that before we move on, because from what I understand, some are better than others. There are hackers I know that have reported their ability to hack into certain companies, and sometimes the company will say, "Oh, thank you very much. Here's our bug bounty program." Sometimes the company will threaten the hacker with criminal prosecution for having done something unlawful.
Yeah.
Is there a fine line between bug bounty programs and maybe unethical hacking? How does that work? How safe is that for an ethical hacker to participate in?
I would say for obviously things has changed dramatically in the last decade, and now I would say most companies, they realize the importance of ethical hacking. They realize that people from a lot of from academia, they find vulnerabilities. They are doing this just for science, and they responsibly report to you, and you should be grateful for that. They're not trying to exploit you. And also there are some professional hackers also trying to be ethical. Maybe at some point of their career, they did something bad, but everyone trying to be legal now, right? So yeah, so for them, there are people live on this. There are people live on bug hunting. And I'm very happy to say that people can live on this now. They don't have to do illegal things and enjoy doing this, but break the laws. I think more and more companies, organizations will be aware of this and join this trend to award ethical hackers. And I hope that will happen sooner than later. Yeah.
Right. No, I agree. And it sounds like you're really passionate
Of
about what
course.
you do, which I think is
Yeah.
important.
Yes.
So I know you mentioned you're not in the private sector. You're a professor at UB.
Yep.
But let me ask you this, and maybe you could walk us through it. Suppose you were in the private sector. You're an organization, or you're retained. Someone says, Professor Zhao, we really need some pen testing, and we've looked into your team. We think you're the right fit. And you're hired, or you're not. You're just it's through some other program, and you do successfully hack into an organization's network or system. What happens next?
So I imagine as a responsible hacker, you need to clearly document what happened, why this happened. Is this like a one-time thing, or there is a guaranteed way to be successful every time you do this? Then work with the organization and company to find the root cause of the problem and think about how to help them to fix the problem. So I think that is what an ethical hacker can do. But for academia, it's a little bit different because we are not just into vulnerabilities, right? We are more into new vulnerabilities. We are into new ways to find vulnerabilities. So we are trying to think about the scientific value, not just the real world broader impact value of those things. So because of that, I think our focus will be a little bit different. For example, right now we are in the AI era, I would say. I mean, ChatGPT, everything large language model. Then I was thinking as a system security and software security guy, what should I do? I mean, does that mean I also need to do the prompt engineering. I was thinking maybe not. Maybe then I should shift some of my focus from the CPU-based systems to GPU-based systems. There are a lot of similar software and system security problems similar in the GPU systems to the CPU system. But CPU system we've been working on for 3 decades, 4 decades, but GPU system is relatively new, right? Then I actually have friends, they discovered something called return-oriented programming on GPU. It's not my work, my friend's work.
Say that again, Professor. I want to make sure our audience gets that.
Return-oriented programming. So It was discovered like back in 2007, 2008 by a professor at UC San Diego. He published a paper on that. So basically, it's not a code injection attack. You can reuse the code gadgets already on the computer system to hack it itself. It's like you have a Lego of Yuda, and it's compiler generated, it's secure. However, if you break it down to smaller Lego pieces, you can make a Darth Vader out of that. You can weave some malicious code out of benign code. Yes. So, but it was done on CPU before. So, one of my friends, his team actually recently discovered that they can do similar things on GPU-based systems. Their paper is still under review, so I cannot talk too much about it. But that's what I'm thinking, right? We need to. Those are something interests academia, right? Something new, something no one has done before. Yeah.
What's the and what's your take on the link between academia and the private sector? How is that relationship? Does the private sector pay attention to and take advantage of what academia is doing to push the science and the technology forward?
I would say academia industry, obviously they go hand in hand. We need each other. Sometimes especially we're in computer science, right? It's not like we are mathematicians. There are open problems there, which has been there for 200 years, 300 years, and we're trying to solve that. We're still trying to solve real world problems, and most of the problems, some of the problems, they only surface when we have the industry scale, those kind of user scale. Then we can say, oh, there is another challenge, there's another problem we need to solve. And in academia, if we do not work with industry, we do not see those kind of challenges. We cannot solve those kind of problems. Industry usually they are business driven. So even if like big companies, they have research labs. I worked with one of the big companies' research lab before, but my feeling is still as a company, they have their own mission, and their own mission is not necessarily science. Even if it's a research lab, it's not necessarily science oriented, right? So that's a major difference. But we do need each other. So I do not personally feel we are being taken advantage of. I feel we need each other.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
All right, I want to turn to something else, but before I do, I have a quick question for you. There is the term ethical hacking, and then there's the term pen testing. Is there any difference between the two, or are those just synonyms and one gets used in the private sector while one gets used in the public or in academia?
I kind of feel the word pen testing sometimes means something more particular. It has a smaller scope. That's what I feel. So usually when we talk about pen testing, we're talking about people directly working on finding vulnerabilities. And most of those people, they are industrial researchers. They do not necessarily go very deep as in academia. They use existing tools. Some of them are very good. They develop tools, but most of them are using existing tools. So their goal is more like finding as many vulnerabilities and fix them as possible, right? As soon as possible and find as many as possible. right? Then ethical hacking is probably a bigger term that can cover many other people, like people in academia. They study new ways to attack. They do not necessarily get paid to pen test a particular website or particular system. They are not necessarily into those kind of things. But they are doing attacks. They publish papers. They show people this is possible, right? So to me, those guys, maybe including myself, I would say we are ethical hackers, but I would not label myself as a pen tester. Yeah, in that sense.
It almost sounds to me like ethical hacking employs more creativity and it's more open-ended than pen testing
I
is.
would
Is
say
that
that
fair?
it's a much bigger scope. Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes me wonder, although maybe we'll leave this for another episode, but I'll put it to you.
Yeah.
If that's the case, Professor, then do we have a challenge with pen testing? Are we employing pen testing on an industry-wide basis that may be too narrow and that may need to be expanded in order to truly identify the existential vulnerabilities that an
Yes.
organization may have?
Yes. I think a lot of big companies are doing that. One of my PhD students who is graduating soon, he's talking with a major company like a GPU company, and
Mhm.
they are interested in GPU security. And I think right now, software security on GPU probably just fewer than 50 people in the world are working on that, I
Mhm.
think. And they are putting together a team to work on that. So they are making GPU and all those attempts. They are thinking about how to exploit the vulnerabilities. So to me, that's beyond pen testing, obviously.
Right.
They're putting a team to do research as well in this direction. Um, I think many other companies are also, of course, this kind of things can only be affordable when the company is so big, right? They
Right.
are so mature. Yeah.
True.
Mm.
True. And I think at some point, insurance plays a role and regulators play a
Yeah.
role. You have regulators mandating pen testing, for example,
Yeah.
but and if you're regulated, you're required to do it. So
Yep.
that takes care of the discretionary element. But
Yes.
often I find myself concerned with the non-discretionary element. With these
Mm.
organizations out there who they want to do the right thing, they want to
Yep.
employ all the state-of-the-art methods, but it's not affordable and it's
Yep.
not required. And so what do you do? How do you
Exactly.
budget ethical hacking or pen testing into your organization?
Yeah. I would say like all the products we say in real world, probably just very few of them has the security in design mindset, right?
Hmm.
Everyone design anything they were thinking about. I need to get to the market. I need to get the users first without thinking about the security of that. Security always come later. So in academia, also in industry, many people have been pushing the mindset of security in design, but I have been saying this for a decade, right? At least a decade. People are saying that, the government also saying that, but it's not happening, I feel. Yeah, in real world. Yeah.
Right. There are some, and I know many of our clients fall into this category, but it's certainly not the majority of
Yeah.
organizations who build security into every stage of the manufacturing process, from
Yep.
design to final release. And contrasted with that is what you've said, which is just sort of
Yep.
thinking about it at the last minute. And
Yep.
I think we're going to continue to evolve in a positive way, but we're
Mm-hmm.
not there yet.
Yep. I agree.
So, all right, Professor, I know we're running short on time, but I have one other question I wanted to talk through with you. So, it strikes me that the role of an ethical hacker is ever expanding, right? Because an attack that works today may not work tomorrow. So, how do you, as an ethical hacker, and how do you train your team
Mm.
to stay up to date, on top of your game, so to speak, so
Yep.
that you can hack into systems
Yes.
as they evolve and improve?
Yes. So first of all, I would say um, a lot of new attacks, they came out as papers, they came out as blogs, and we always follow researchers, the best hackers on X, Twitter, those other places. And we always also go to all kinds of gatherings. There are academia conferences. There are also conferences like DEF CON where people meet and exchange ideas. And I like what you said there, that an attack today may not work tomorrow. And in the last, I would say, 2 decades, our system security improved not only on papers, but also in real world, right? So back 15 years ago, you probably remember everyone used multiple antivirus. Now we don't do that anymore.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So attacks that works today may not work tomorrow. But on the other hand, we also say that systems that look secure today may not be secure tomorrow, right? For example, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, we have that meltdown, we have the Spectral, we find vulnerability in CPUs. And those vulnerability has been there for at least 20 years. But no one realized that's a vulnerability until like 20 years later, people cleverly find that, we can utilize this to hack the system, right? Then all the systems that has been secure, or we thought it's secure for 20 years, all of a sudden they're not secure anymore. So I would say there are multiple dimensions of this question. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. All right, so we're almost out of time, but I want to ask you one question.
Sure.
Let's say you're in front of a small to medium-sized business today, and you have 1 minute or two to convince that organization to employ ethical hacking in order to improve its cyber hygiene. What are you going to say to that company's CEO or CISO in order to convince them that they need to do this?
I would say without finding the vulnerabilities before your attacker cyber criminals does, they may put you out of business. All of a sudden, you are done. Yeah. So if you can think this as an insurance, you can think this as a way to raise the bar for cyber criminals to attack your system. Yeah. So it's definitely necessary. Yeah.
It's pre-attack insurance.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, post-attack insurance can help you recover, but why not insure yourself before the attack so you don't have to recover?
Yes. Yes. So, like I said, have ethical hacking can definitely help you, but not necessarily. You should never think that I'm absolutely secured, right? Yeah.
Right. That's how we talk about it. You can manage exposure, you can limit the exposure, but you can't eliminate it.
Yep.
Well, that sounds like a good place to leave it. Professor Ziming Zhao, thank you so much for joining us. It was a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for having me. This has been fun. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it was fun for me too, and I hope you'll come back to talk.
Of course.
We'll talk about something new and exciting on an upcoming episode.
Sure, I enjoy doing this very much, so I hope I can come back. Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you, Professor, and thanks to all of you for joining us on this episode of CyberSip. We're back soon with another episode. The CyberSip podcast is available on barclaydamon.com, YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Like, follow, share, and continue to listen.